Hey guys, welcome to another video where today we'll be completing what we did in part 1 of our guess the user's number, which is we actually going to implement the code in Python. So this is actually the part 2. So if you guys haven't watched part 1, I would highly suggest that you jump back and watch that before you watch this. But for those of you who have, let's just have a quick revision of what we saw or what we learned that time. Was we have three variables: min, max, and guess. The minimum will store the minimum value of our range, so a min value of our range. The max will store the max value of our range. Again, this is all explained in more detail in the part 1. And I guess is going to store the middle value of our range, which is going to be using the function min plus max divided by 2. And what is our range? Our range is just the range of numbers in which we are certain that the user's number exists, in. So I've already explained much of how we're going to do it. Is that we're going to use a loop, and each time we are going to give the user, first the user has to think of a number. First thing, it has to be a number between the range of 1 and 100. After, we are going to give our guess, which is going to be equal to this particular formula. It's going to be equal to a number which is given from this formula. And after we show this guess to our user, the user can either ask us to go higher, meaning the user's number is higher, or lower, or yes, this is my number. So higher means that the user's number is higher, lower means that the user's number is lower. If the user asks us to go higher, that means we want to make min equal to guess plus 1. If the user asks us to go lower, user asks us to go lower, that means we want to make max equal to guess minus 1. And if the user says yes, this is my number, we can just say, we will just break out the while loop. The reason I'm saying while loop is because we're going to use a while loop. So in the previous video, I showed you about these three variables or these three identifiers. In Python, or at least when you're making the program, we need the fourth identifier, which is going to be number found, which is gonna it's going to be a boolean value. First thing, it's going to be a boolean value, and the second thing is that it's going to store uh, if the number has been found or not. If the number has been found or not. And so this is basically this is just a revision of what we did last time in the part 1, and this is just a new thing, but we also need this guy. Since we're using a while loop, we want a boolean value to check whether it's been found or not. So first, let's just initialize the variables. Let us just initialize the variables. And so we have min is equal to 1, max is equal to 100. We have guess, which we can, let's not find it right now, we'll find in the loop. We also have number found, which is going to equal to false, because at the starting we're not sure the number found has been found or not, or the number has been found or not, right? And then we want to start up the game. So what you can do is, again, you don't have to do this, we can just say welcome to guess your number, I guess, or something like that. And then we can say think of a number between 1 and 100. It's very crucial that I say 1 and 100, because our whole game depends on this fact. And we can just say when I say I mean I as a program, I will try to guess it in less than 8 tries. The reason I'm saying less than 8 tries is because if you use the technique which we saw in a previous video, or the method we did, we'll only need 7 or lesser than 7 tries. We don't need more than 7 tries, whatever number the user chooses. So it's guess less than 8 tries, because less than 8 is 7 or less. So this is the starting of the game. So the next thing we want to do is we want to actually have our core game loop, or our core where most of the game will happen. It's going to be a while loop. And what is our condition going to be in the while loop? It's going to be as long as number found is not false, or as long as number is not found, we want to keep on doing this loop. The reason I'm using the not is because this is a false, and if I just put a false over here, the while loop will not execute. You want this to be true. So because this is false, not a false becomes true. Not like that. Not a false will become true, because not is the exact opposite. And eventually, if you ever find number found, we'll make number found true, and when it becomes true, not a true will become false, and it will exit the while loop. right? So this is the condition we're going to check, and inside the loop we want to do a bunch of stuff. First we want to find guess, right? We want to calculate guess, not find guess. We want to calculate guess. We already have the formula over here. Where's it gone? Over here. So I can actually just copy that if you want. I can say guess is equal to min plus max divided by 2. But this as of now will actually give us a float value. I mean, it could give us a float value, not it will. It could give us a float value. And actually at the starting we have 1 and 100, which is going to be our initial values. Our initial values for min and max are going to be 1, and let me just, it's going to be 1 and 100. So initially we're going to get 1 plus 100, 101 divided by 2, 50.5. We want an integer value because it's probably better to get integer values, because, well, the user is guessing an integer value, so best to give integer value. So we can use the int function call, which will take any float value, and it's very remember that it will truncate the float value. What's the meaning of the word truncate? It means if I give 2.4, the int function will give it as 2. If I give 3.4, it will give it as 3. And if I even give 5.9, if you were rounding this, you would get 6. But since the int function truncates or just chops off the decimal point, it will give us a 5. It's very important to remember that this does not round off, and this is there will be no issues faced with this. This is actually this is actually preferred to us. It helps us in our code. But just one remember in your head at least that it will not truncate it or just remove the float value. It's not going to actually try to round it. The int function does not round anything. Even 5.9, even 7.8 for example will be 7. It will just remove this part. It will not actually try to round it. Okay, so that's the int function call. So the int function call is wrapped around the whole min plus max over 2, which by this gives the middle value, and then we have guess equal to int of these guys, and we're gonna get guess. Now we want to show out guess, so we can say I think your number is, and since guess is an integer, and we are trying to concatenate a string to an integer, what happens is that if we just without the string function calls, there will be an error because you cannot concatenate string values and integer values together. So instead of that, you want to convert the integer value. You want temporarily convert it to a string, at least for line number 34. So whatever integer values in guess will be converted to string, so that they can add this string to this string, or they can concatenate this string to this string. Sorry, concatenate. Okay. So that's just printing. I think your number is whatever the number is. It's going to be string of guess. After you print this, actually this does not have to be print. This has to be in an input function, since the user can give an input. And before we take an input, let me write something like this. We also want to explain the rules. The user can say higher, lower, or yes. So let's go back over here, and we'll say type in, and let me use double quotes for here, so I can use single quotes inside the string. Type in higher, lower, or yes. So now the user knows exactly what to type, whether it is higher, lower, or yes, this is my number. Yes, this is the number, right? So something like this. This is not the best way to do it, but you guys can definitely polish this more when you guys make it. This is just the initial thing. So higher, lower, yes. So the user has to type one of these. It's very crucial the user types this, because when we use that, when we check for it, we're going to check for these exact keywords. Okay, so after we take input, we're going to store it in a variable called user input. Again, this could be any variable. I just name it user input. And now we want to check what the user has given. So we can use if, else, or we can use conditional statements. So if the user given higher, that means that the user wants to go higher. Remember, we already learned what it is. If the user gives higher, means we have to do this. Min is equal to guess plus 1. So we have to do min is equal to guess plus 1. We want to make min equal to guess plus 1. Elif user input is equal to lower, which means that user input is lower. Let's go back and see what you have to do when it's lower. We want to make max equal to guess max 1. Again, I've gone into detail on why we do all of this and why we're trying to do all this in the previous video. If you guys don't remember this or have a doubt, you can just go back to the part 1 of this where I explain in more detail. And then we have a third thing, which is elif user input is equal to yes. which means that the user has given in yes, in which case we can break the loop. How we're going to break the loop is we're going to say number found is equal to true. So the next time it comes to the while loop, it will say not of true, and not of true become false, and will break out the while loop. So that's pretty much it. So we can do an else statement, and reason I'm using else, you don't have to use it. We already covered all three. But let's say the user types in something which is neither higher nor lower nor yes. We just want to remind the user that to type in only these guys. Type in. Let me just copy this over here like this. Type in higher. Type in either higher, lower, or yes. So the user is reminded if he makes any mistake, or if he types, if let's say if he types in yup, I don't know, instead of yes, then this code will not be able to detect yup. Or if you want, you can always add other stuff like user equal to yup. But for example, in the most simplest version of this, this program will only be able to detect yes, lower, or higher. So in the event that the user types something else, we also wanna do a we also want to do a validation check to ensure that the user knows what to type in. So this is going to check each time, and we are changing variables for higher, lower, and again when the while loop is run again, this is going to give a different value, because in the next time either min or max is going to be different, right? So when any of these guys are different, guess will have a different value. So we're going to get a different value over here, and the user is going to keep on doing this again and again. And now we can go outside the while loop, which means that the number has been found as of now, because we're going outside the while loop. And now if the numbers has been found, we can just first we can use some print statements. The reason I use all these print statements just to make it more neater. So maybe a few print statements over here, and then I think the number is okay. This should be fine. Maybe one over here also. Okay, so we want to go to the end screen where we can say I got your number. It was, and what is the number going to be? So remember, this loop is checking for the number, and as soon as the number is found, this loop will break. But what is the number going to be? If you see that our guess value or our guess variable is going to store a different number, it's going to store a different number each time. And as soon as the guess variable stores the number which the user had guessed or which the user had thought of, the user will give in a yes, and number 4 will become true, and this value will break, which means that the last value of guess was the user's number. So we can use that to our advantage by saying I got a number, it was string of guess. It was string of guess. Reason again we're using string is because this is a string, this is an integer. You cannot concatenate a string and an integer together. So you have to use the string function call to convert this integer to a string. And we can just say thanks for playing or something. Thanks for playing. Something like this. So let's just run the code, see how it initially goes. Let me get some more space. So welcome to guess your number. Think of a number between 1 and 100. I will try to guess your number I'll try to guess in less than 85. Type in higher, lower. Yes, this is the number. I actually want to change two stuff. First thing being is that I want to remove this because that makes no sense. I just realized. Let me remove this. And second thing is I actually don't want this to come as soon, because the user is going to get confused what to do. I want the user to first read this and then press enter, and then the user can start with the actual game, because the game is starting even before the user has read the rules or the instructions. It's a very easy fix. Is over here what I'm going to do is I'm going to say start, and so this is not going to be a print statement. It's actually going to be an input statement, and this is just going to store whether this is going to store what's it going to store. This is going to start this thing. I can just name it start again. So this remember, I mean, it's obvious that input functions pause execution, so we will not go on to the while loop until this is over. So it will show this and it will show this, and so the user can press start and then start the actual game. Then I just want to add a few lines just so it looks neat. Let's stop and rerun. So welcome to guess the number. Think of a number between 1 and 100. Try to guess it. Type in higher, lower, yes. So now I can press enter to start. I can actually return anything. Press enter. It doesn't matter. And now we're actually in our actual core game loop. So let's first think of a number. Let's think of a number. Let's say our number is. Let me write it over here, so just so it makes sense. Oh, sorry. So let's say our number. Now in this case we are acting as a user. Let's say it is 34. Example. So do we want to go higher, lower? Yes, we want to go lower because number 34 is lower than 50. Then I think number 25. We want to go higher than 25 because our number 34 is higher than 25. Then 37, we want to go lower because number 34 is lower. Pretty sure you can get the idea. 31, we want to go higher. Oops, higher. And you can see if I write anything, it will say type in either higher, lower, yes. And I'm not adding a print statement. So that's fine. So 34, we want to go. 34, you actually already got the number and not realize. You can say yes and say I got your number 34. Thanks for playing. Okay, let's just do another iteration of this. Now let's do something. Let's say 87. These are all just random numbers. So we want to go higher. We want to go higher again. 87 is lower than 88, so we want to go lower. We want to go higher, higher again, and yes, this is my number, right? And it's always good to test the extreme values. So let's try to test for 100, whether 100 will come or not. So what I'm going to do is, because we have to press higher many times. So yes, higher, higher, higher than 94, higher 97, higher 99, and yes, my number is 100. Let's try for 1. Remember, we cannot say 0 because we have already given from 1 to 100, not 0 to 100. So we have to go again lower. We have to go lower, lower than 12, lower than 6, lower than 3, and yes, the number is 1. So this is the basics. Again, this can be extremely modified, extremely polished. I would highly suggest you guys do it in your own way. Maybe change this. Maybe you want to use it in an actual GUI, like probably Pygame or Tkinter. As of now, we're only doing the console, which is not that pretty, but it still works. One small task which if you guys want to try it, is at the end over here. This is the end. What I say is end credits, not end credits, but like the end scene, where you actually talk about thanks for playing, I got your number. Can you guys try to also output the number of tries it took the program, the number of tries it took the program, or in this case took you, let's say it took the program to get the user's number. It's a very easy thing. This I will not show, maybe I'll show in an upcoming video, but I just want you guys to at least try something for your own. So try this if you can. Show the number of tries. Like in one scenario for 34 we got like, let me show it once. For 34 we got something like 5 tries. So we got like, so if our number was 34, we did lower, sorry, higher, lower, and we got 31 higher. So in this case it took the program 4 tries. So I can also say 4 tries over here. If it takes more than 4 tries, it should say how many tries it took. And the way we have made this is in such a way that it will never take more than 7 tries. So it will take less than 8 tries. Okay, so that's the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you guys have any doubts, again, you can tell below in the comments. And I'll see you guys in the next video.